Hi everyone, it's Gary Nicholson here. This is your Planning Outlook video on Tuesday the 11th of September. Still a changeable mix as we go through the weekend and beyond. Generally west or southwesterly winds will dominate. Fairly chilly still on the mountains for a good few days ahead. Rain most frequent on western mountains. And the main complication for next week as a whole is what happens to former tropical systems over the Atlantic. Starting off with a view of the whole Atlantic then, we can see there's a few hurricanes on the go. Quite an active spell has got going. The most notable of those is Florence, which has got its sights set on the eastern seaboard for a major impact there later this week. A couple of other hurricanes are around as well. One of those could easily get drawn into the mid-Atlantic, North Atlantic weather patterns to affect us eventually. We just run on over a few days. There's a small area of low pressure that's around the Azores, that's moving around slowly. You can see how Florence heads toward the eastern seaboard there by Thursday, Friday. And if we just go on over a few days, eventually one of those mid-Atlantic storms will get drawn most likely northwards, so some tropical moisture getting dragged in our direction, maybe indirect effects from one of those Atlantic hurricanes, but all creating complications for the weather models as the tropical storms mix with North Atlantic mid-latitude depressions. And that, as we go into the start of next week, is the picture. Ahead of that could just be a push of higher pressure and some warmer air, but then some wet and windy weather could be developing as next week goes on, as that complex mix approaches from the west. So there could be some warmer days ahead eventually, but for the time being it's that chilly westerly, and this temperature chart is the 850 millibar level. As we often show you, it's at around 4,500 to 5,000 feet or so in the atmosphere. And where we've got values on this almost at freezing point, well, it's a pretty decent steer for the highest tops in Scotland, where you'll only just be above freezing on many days for the rest of this week. And with the scope for some hail and some sleet and snow on those very highest summits coming down in the showers. This is just taking you on then over a few days through the weekend and gradually into next week. Eventually those colours just become brighter shades of green and milder air just coming up from the south-southwest as the wind direction turns slightly. Temperatures may still be back and forth a little bit, but just a touch milder for many as we go through into next week. This is total rainfall over the next 5 days ahead, taking you into the weekend, and it shows the wettest conditions across western Scotland. Don't worry about the numbers too much, but it just highlights those locations which will see most in the way of rain. The eastern side of the Highlands seeing mostly very little. Occasional rain is coming into the lakes and West Wales, but relatively small amounts. And across the Pennines and Peak District, again, not too much in total over the 5 days ahead. These are the charts for the next few days. Then Wednesday sees a cold front slipping away southwards with some early low cloud and drizzly rain across parts of Wales and maybe the Peak District, but soon out of the way. And it's then a story of showers, mostly focused across western Scotland, with the eastern side of Scotland always in the driest conditions. A chilly, blustery westerly wind in place, especially the Scottish mountains. Fairly similar into Thursday, something of a frontal feature may just slip southeastwards, organising the showers for a time into something more frequent, but generally it's showers that are most common across the western side of Scotland. Eastern Scotland, again, the driest. Wales and the Peak District may be seeing very little. Not too much changing to that general westerly flow on Friday. Again, the only differences just maybe as bits of fronts come in from the Atlantic to organise rain again over a few hours. Perhaps on Friday, wetter conditions a bit more extensive from Scotland to northwest England as that cold front moves through, and cloud shrouding the higher tops most of the day. Heading into the weekend, and it's west or southwesterlies in charge. High pressure towards the south, fronts passing across the northern side of Britain, maybe just a next set of fronts trying to come in from the Atlantic as the weekend progresses to give something wetter with time. Most of the low cloud and rain again focused on more western mountains. And that's the general trend for next week, the week through from the 18th onwards. That's the 7-day pressure averages, the anomalies, the green colours showing lower than average pressure, the redder, oranger colours higher than average pressure, which just suggests we stay changeable. The lower pressure focus more northwest of Scotland with some rain at times coming in from the Atlantic. Possibly wetter conditions for all at some point, but the further south you go, generally the drier it's looking. And the air masses, well varied, occasionally coming around still as a cool North Atlantic flow coming off northern Canada, but some milder, perhaps warmer, south by southwesterlies trying to get into the mix as well. So quite a complicated but still fairly unsettled outlook, I suspect, for the week ahead. Stay up to date with all the details updated every single day in the local forecasts at the Mountain Weather Information Service website. We'll update this video again before the end of the week. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.